Tonight, the Prime Minister speaks out against Alberta's separation referendum.
That is a very dangerous bluff.
Unhelpful, undemocratic, and he says it could easily backfire.
This is a decision for Albertans to make.
The reaction to Mark Carney's critical comments and why some MPs say he needs to stay out of it. The Pope's warning for the world about AI.
Artificial intelligence needs to be disarmed.
From workers to warfare, why the American pontiff is taking a stand. Canada's World Cup training camp gets underway without their injured captain.
Yes, I think Alphonso will play in the World Cup.
But just how much will the superstar hit the pitch on home turf?
From CBC News, this is The National with Susan Ormiston.
Thank you for joining us. Adrian is on assignment tonight. The Prime Minister is speaking out, denouncing Alberta Premier Danielle Smith's plan to allow a referendum question about a future vote on separation and warning it could backfire. He says the referendum could be dangerous and that Albertans didn't vote for this when they last went to the polls. Alberta's Premier, though, is hitting back, saying hundreds of thousands of them did sign petitions asking for a referendum. This is all playing out just as Western premiers gather in Alberta for their annual meeting. And as Julia Wong shows us, they had plenty to add to that discussion.
The Premier has proposed the question.
Prime Minister Mark Carney making his most critical comments yet over Alberta's separation referendum question.
Is it helpful to ask these fundamental questions? No, it's not helpful.
This fall, Albertans will vote on whether the province should stay in Canada or hold another referendum, this one binding, on whether or not to leave the country. Carney says it's against the will of Albertans and could easily backfire, pointing to Brexit, which happened when he was Bank of England governor.
In these separation issues, it is often advanced that vote for this and it's a free option. Vote for this and we will strengthen our hand in a future negotiation. That is a very dangerous bluff.
Carney's jab had Alberta's premier on the defensive.
This is a decision for Albertans to make. I think it's also incumbent upon everyone not to dismiss Albertans' legitimate grievances.
The separation issue looming large over an annual meeting of the Western premiers, taking place this year in Wild Rose Country. Alberta and BC have been publicly sparring over a West Coast pipeline and its potential impact on national unity.
I think that this referendum question is a reckless decision to test the bonds of the country at a time when we need to stick together.
There are many reasons I think that it's beneficial for Alberta to remain in Canada. I'll put those forward.
Back in Ottawa, some Alberta Conservative MPs also weighed in.
Albertans should have a say.
I think until we address it, it will be like an itch that is not scratched, like an irritant.
And the Bloc Québécois, with its own separatism mandate, says the federal government should stay out of it.
Being from the nation of Quebec, I should have no say on how Albertans will decide. It's only up to them.
The debate, taking place the same day, an Angus Reid poll shows 35% of Albertans would vote in the referendum to leave Canada. But about half of Albertans find the question's wording confusing.
Polling 101, that's not generally the type of question we'd put in front of people in order to better understand what they're thinking.
The Prime Minister, when asked if he counseled Danielle Smith against holding a referendum, replied, "The Premier doesn't always take my advice."
Julia, you're in Kananaskis, of course, at the Western Premiers Conference. What is on the official agenda there?
So the premiers will spend the evening at a reception before getting down to business on Tuesday, discussing economic opportunities, defense, and infrastructure. Provincial and territorial leaders say while they know there are many differences politically, they try to leave partisan issues at the door because they know they need to work together.
All right, Julia Wong for us tonight in Kananaskis, Alberta. India's Commerce and Industry Minister met with his Canadian counterpart this morning in Ottawa as the two countries work to beef up trade between them.
I can clearly see the speed and intent of both sides, Canada and India.
He is traveling here with what he says is India's largest ever trade delegation, more than 100 senior business representatives. He credits Mark Carney's recent trip to India with completely resetting the Canada-India relationship. Oil prices dropped sharply today as the United States and Iran say progress is being made in peace talks. But as Sasha Petrusik reports, obstacles remain that are keeping a deal out of reach.
In the Strait of Hormuz, lines are growing. On global markets, oil prices are falling, all amid renewed optimism for an end to the U.S.-led conflict with Iran. There has been lots of progress, says an Iranian spokesman, but a deal isn't imminent.
We're still a work in progress.
The U.S. is also cautious.
So we have what I think is a pretty solid thing on the table in terms of their ability to open up the straits, get the straits open.
American officials say that and a declared end to the war would be the first steps in a memorandum of understanding, followed by talks on stopping Iran's nuclear program. In a social media post, President Donald Trump says negotiations are proceeding nicely. It will only be a great deal, he says, or no deal at all. Under pressure to get gas prices down at home, political opponents say Trump is surrendering to Iran.
This weak nation has put America in a stalemate, and Donald Trump is being played as a fool that he is for getting us into this in the first place.
But there's at least one big obstacle to getting out: Israel, which is determined to keep fighting. It has its own list of demands to weaken Iran, and mostly they're unmet.
There will be nothing on ballistic missiles, which Israel wanted. There'll be nothing on control of the proxies writ large. And of course, there's no regime change. So Israel's not going to be happy.
In Lebanon, Israel's intensifying its fight with one of those proxies, Hezbollah, despite a ceasefire called last month. We're not letting up, says Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We will keep striking them. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Toronto.
Officials in Southern California say there's no longer a risk of a tank of hazardous chemicals exploding, and they are lifting some evacuation orders. The tank began overheating last week at an aerospace facility south of Los Angeles. Fire officials say a crack formed over the weekend that helped relieve pressure and lowered the temperature. Police west of Toronto say they've arrested 17 people in an extortion investigation targeting the South Asian community in several provinces. As Sheehan Desjardins explains, investigators say most of the suspects are linked to an international criminal network.
A terrifying scene in Peel region just west of Toronto. One person appears to be filming while the other opens fire. Now police say 17 men have been arrested in connection with a slew of violent attacks like these against the South Asian community in Ontario, Alberta, and BC.
Businesses were shot, there have been arsons, families intimidated, and this was organized violence. They're not one-off activities.
Investigators believe there are ties to a bigger international criminal network, a gang known as Four Brothers. The suspects now facing more than 100 charges, including extortion, firearms offenses, arson, and others. At least 6 of the men could face some kind of immigration action too.
Police doing their part, but we are still receiving calls, extortion calls.
Racinder Kaur says she knows dozens of people who have been extorted before. Earlier this year, she organized a protest to call on officials to do more. But she says victims are scared to speak out.
They are very much in stress. They can't sleep, mentally anxiety, and they are not feeling safe.
The surge in extortions in Canada dates back to 2023. Among the many incidents, homes under construction in Edmonton were torched, car dealerships targeted in the Peel region, and this home in Surrey, BC shot at Monday for the second time this year, also suspected to be extortion.
Extortion is not a new crime, but it has evolved. It has evolved here in Peel and other parts of our country.
And the fight to tackle it still not over.
If you are being threatened,
targeted or asked for money, report it to police.
A plea to victims as the investigation continues, with more arrests expected. Chien Desjardins, CBC News, Toronto.
A warning from the Pope today that military use of artificial intelligence could lead to warfare beyond human control. Erin Collins looks at why the American pontiff is weighing in now.
Memorial Day in the U.S., a day to remember this country's war dead.
God bless the families of the fallen. God bless the men and women who serve. And God bless the United States of America.
With America's military on display, the first American Pope had a warning about the future of warfare.
Artificial intelligence needs to be disarmed.
Pope Leo delivering an encyclical in Rome, an open letter on the risks of artificial intelligence and war.
Other very troubling voices have also reached me about increasingly autonomous weapons systems, practically beyond any human reach to govern them effectively.
Alongside the Pope, one of the founders of the AI company Anthropic. That company at odds with the government over the potential use of its AI on the battlefield, telling the Defense Department it doesn't want its tech used in unmanned weapons that have no human oversight. Its founder also worried about the technology's impact on society more broadly.
There is a real possibility that AI will displace human labor at a very large scale. If that happens, supporting those displaced will be a moral imperative of historic proportions.
As AI becomes more prominent, concerns about its potential impact are growing too.
It's just the most powerful technology to ever been invented. It's a tool, but it's a tool unlike any tool that's come before. And therefore, the level of disruption to civilization will be massive.
Well, the Pope agrees, saying more should be done to protect workers and regulate the artificial intelligence sector. Pope Leo may understand the dangers of AI better than most. The American pontiff has a degree in mathematics, but so far efforts to regulate AI in the U.S. have stalled. Just last week, Donald Trump scrapped an executive order that would have allowed the government to review new AI models before they were released to the public. Erin Collins, CBC News, Washington.
Ontario Cabinet Minister Caroline Mulroney said today she's leaving that job and her seat in the legislature.
It was one of the hardest decisions I've made in my life, but it is the right one. It's time for me to begin a new chapter.
The daughter of former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, she has led several cabinet posts since she was first elected in 2018. Ahead of that election, she ran to lead the Progressive Conservative Party. But Doug Ford, now Premier, won that contest. Tim Hortons is hiring 10,000 local workers as it's set to expand. And as Karen Pauls tells us, the move comes amid criticisms over its previous hiring practices and as a former rival eyes a Canadian comeback.
Can I please get a dark roast, an iced coffee, and a pack of Tim's new rookie cards? Nice.
Tim Hortons has always played to its Canadian roots.
I got it. Tim Biebs.
Now, the coffee giant plans to open 80 new restaurants, renovate 400 others, and hire 10,000 local staff.
Apply today and take the first step.
It comes as Dunkin' has announced plans to open hundreds of shops in Canada.
How do you like them donuts? I'm so sorry.
I think they are going after the same consumer, a younger consumer, the cool factor. So I think that Dunkin' does represent a real threat.
The plans may also be a response to criticisms like this.
Because Tim Hortons upset a lot of people because they hired so many temporary foreign workers.
During pandemic-era labor shortages, Tim Hortons lobbied Ottawa to expand the temporary foreign worker program, but now says that's no longer necessary. We think one of the biggest misperceptions around Tim Hortons is how the temporary foreign worker program has been used. Less than 4% of team members were hired through the TFW program.
I think entry-level jobs are really hard to find right now. So I think it's great for Tim Hortons to hire like the local kids.
Youth unemployment in Canada is more than 14%.
When you have such high youth unemployment and you see jobs going to people who are not Canadian youths, any company that can address that is going to gain favorability with Canadians.
And with those trying to help young job seekers.
Just opening up the job market and having more opportunities for everybody to kind of get into that is a good sign.
Experts say it'll be a challenge for Dunkin' to come in and take on a brand that's so deeply embedded in the local community. Think Timbits Soccer or Camp Day. But they say the competition will be good for Canadian coffee lovers and workers. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A South Korean submarine is docked in BC tonight. It's one of 2 subs that Canada is weighing for its future fleet. Lindsay Duncombe takes a closer look at Ottawa's multi-billion-dollar decision.
A show of force, a display of friendship, and a sales pitch. This is the Dosan An Chang-ho. The Korean submarine arrived at CFB Esquimalt after a 14,000-kilometer journey across the Pacific. And the Koreans want Canada to buy 12 of them.
도산 정함의 작전 우수성을 보이고
We will be able to demonstrate the superior capability of our submarine assets, says Korean Navy Captain Ki-bum Kim.
I'll be back in 60 days.
Canada plans to buy up to a dozen submarines in the next 15 years, an investment worth tens of billions of dollars. There are 2 bids, and this Canadian Rear Admiral would be happy with either, especially considering of the 4 used submarines Canada currently has, only 1 is working right now.
The new submarines are going to add stealth, lethality, presence, distance. They're going to be able to go into the ice in the Arctic and be present in all 3 of our oceans.
The HDW Class 212 CD.
Competing against the Koreans, this German-Norwegian boat, an updated version of a submarine already in use by NATO. Both bids are also promising thousands of jobs and multi-billion-dollar investments.
Regardless of which submarine Canada chooses, there's another big challenge, and that's recruitment. Right now, Canada has about 200 submariners, and if Canada buys 12 new boats, it's going to need a lot more, up to 1,000.
Recruiting is at the top of our list, and I think once people see the capabilities that are going to be coming with the future fleet and what it's like on board, I think we're going to get a huge influx of people.
Defense analysts suggest all this pomp is aimed not just at Ottawa, but at Canadians, to warm them up to a potential big purchase from a new partner. Canada is expected to make a decision by the end of June. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Esquimalt, British Columbia.
Canada's just weeks away from hosting the World Cup, but a big question remains, will the team's captain take the pitch?
Yes, I think Alphonso will play in the World Cup.
Confidence from the coach, but it's not a done deal. Environment Canada has disbanded its radar research team with an eye on using more artificial intelligence.
In the future, we hope that with AI, we can improve all ranges of forecasting.
Why some say the shift is risky. And hosting a family of foxes.
They run, they play, they jump, they pounce on each other.
We're back in 2. Competitors actually tumbled 180 meters down this steep hill in central England on Monday for an annual cheese rolling contest. Whoever makes it down the slope first wins a wheel of cheese. A German YouTube star took the prize in one of the men's competitions, beating the Guinness World Record holder who has won 23 times. Team Canada's first Men's World Cup game on Canadian soil is just 18 days away, and the roster still isn't settled. Thomas Daigle lays out the big question, though. Will superstar Alphonso Davies be available to bolster his country's chances in this historic series?
As a steady stream of Canadian soccer stars gather for a crucial training camp before the World Cup, one key player is missing. Injured captain Alphonso Davies. With his face plastered all over Canada, his role in the tournament is now only slightly clearer.
Yes, I think Alphonso will play in the World Cup.
Head coach Jesse Marsh says Davies will likely miss Canada's first World Cup match in Toronto. but will train with the team next week in his hometown, Edmonton.
We're going to have to, I think, just put a process in place for him that doesn't put him further at risk.
While Davies celebrates championships for his pro team Bayern Munich, there's been tension between that club and Canada Soccer ever since this happened.
Davies is down.
Davies suffering a knee injury playing for Canada last year, leading Bayern Munich to threaten legal action over Canada's handling of the incident.
They're at their best when Alphonso Davies is in their lineup, right? So they have every right to feel concern and interest in his well-being.
Add to that a cryptic social media post by Davies pledging in 1 month to compete on home turf, a promise that later disappeared.
Who gets the final call?
Well, we take a collaborative approach. I mean, the FIFA rules, strictly speaking, allow for players to be released to national team duty, but our approach is to work with the medical staff and work with the club at Bayern Munich. And of course, Alphonso and his team are central to all of the discussions.
Well, Davies arriving!
After Davies scored Canada's first ever men's World Cup goal in 2022, fans want more of this.
Alphonso is a very important player for the team, so we're all hoping that things go in the right direction for him, and we'll see him putting on the jersey representing Canada.
In all, 32 players have been invited to the training camp here this week. On Friday, Canada Soccer will announce its final roster for the World Cup, with a question mark hanging over the team's biggest star. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Charlotte, North Carolina.
It has been 5 years since Ireland made scalping tickets illegal, but so far the law is far from foolproof.
Have cases where it's up to 6 times the original.
From higher face values to underground sales, the flaws that keep driving up prices. A generic Ozempic is coming to Canada, so how does it stack up against the brand name medication?
It's the same molecule eventually, but it's just made differently.
The National breaks down the stories shaping our world next. That is the moment a Russian missile strike damaged Ukraine's Chornobyl Museum in Kyiv yesterday. Its director now says 40% of its exhibits were lost. The museum held historical artifacts from the 1986 nuclear disaster. Ukraine's interior minister is vowing to rebuild. Environment Canada is cutting its radar researchers, replacing those responsible for tracking severe weather data with a new AI hybrid forecasting model. It says the move will improve predictions. But as Helena Mahalik explains, experts are concerned.
We had those powerful winds move into the area.
Storm chaser Jenny Hagan relies on Environment Canada weather data while out in the field. She braves tornadoes and blizzards to capture storm images and to inform the public about weather patterns across the prairies, but says cuts to radar research by Environment Canada will make that job more difficult.
It really kind of holds us back a lot on the information that we can gather when we're out in the field in order to keep not only just ourselves safe, but the general public.
Radar provides real-time data about immediate conditions, helping Environment Canada issue warnings to the public. But its radar research team has now been disbanded, and radar technology won't be further developed. Environment Canada would not discuss staffing changes with CBC News. It says changes to radar research have been made, but it will continue to provide expertise in maintaining Canada's radar network.
But when you look at the variety of different options that U.S. ones have.
Experts say Canada's radars were already 15 years behind the capabilities of those in the U.S., and some farmers near the border say they're relying on U.S. radars instead of Canada's.
I can kind of rely on some American apps and that, but it would be nice to see the Canadian government and the Saskatchewan government invest a little bit more.
Canada will also soon be the first country to launch a hybrid AI weather model forecasting system. But experts like David Sills say this does not replace radar when it comes to the immediate risk on the ground.
We actually have done studies where we looked at what is the radar imagery that was in front of the forecaster when that tornado was missed. And a lot of times it's because The quality of the radar image is so poor that it's hard to tell that there's potential for a tornado there.
Environment Canada researchers are optimistic the AI technology will get better.
But in the future, we hope that with AI, we can improve all ranges of forecasts.
David Sills has started a letter-writing campaign urging people to ask elected officials to reverse the cuts. 8,000 letters were sent in the first 48 hours. Sills says improved detection of hail, tornadoes, and flash floods are needed to improve public safety. Helena Mahalik, CBC News, Saskatoon.
In the breakdown tonight, using the law to cap resale ticket prices, and what you need to know now that generic Ozempic is available in Canada. Competition for name brand GLP-1s like Ozempic means more options, but it also means more questions.
It's the same molecule eventually, but it's just made differently.
We're looking at the ingredients, the side effects, and the potential costs. But first,
one ticket is all I need.
In the build-up to soccer's World Cup and summer's concert season, a new effort to stabilize ticket prices.
Those ticket gougers, they're going to pay the price. We're going to get to them.
A big test for Ontario's new law and for the companies that dominate the industry. Those are the themes that Dave Seglin's tracked down, speaking to a top executive from Live Nation and traveling to Ireland, which has already done what Ontario is trying.
The joy of live music. Or the big game. But buying the tickets, not so fun.
Why are ticket prices like the cost of a kidney?
I cannot justify paying $1,000 for a ticket. It's just stupid, ridiculous.
I hate Ticketmaster.
Question is, what can be done to fix the ticketing system?
I think it's increasingly dysfunctional. Whether you're working class or middle class or upper middle class, people are being badly priced out of the market.
We try so many things at Ticketmaster in particular to try to combat these practices, but it's an arms race that we can't win.
Market dominance and monopolistic power hold consumers by the neck.
So it's an honor to have you back. A friend of mine, Kid Rock, sometimes referred to as Bob.
Back in the White House, President Trump promised action on ticket prices. Alongside Kid Rock, he vowed to crack down on scalpers who use bots to buy up most of the seats.
Ticket sales and scalping and all of the gouging that you have been reading about, it's gotten worse and worse with time.
This is a great first step. I would love down the road if there'd be some legislation that we could actually put a cap on the resale of tickets.
Putting a cap on resale prices to stop scalpers is one idea that's getting traction in the UK, New York, California, and Ontario.
Ban the resale of tickets above their original face value, not a cent more.
Ontario just passed it into law after even the Premier chose to watch last fall's Blue Jays World Series run on TV instead of going to the games.
I'm going to be sitting in my man cave because I'm not paying whatever $1,500 for a ticket. And by the way, those ticket gougers, they're going to pay the price. We're going to get to them.
But can banning people from reselling tickets above face value work? Will it drive down prices? For answers, we look to Dublin, Ireland, where it's been the law for the last 5 years.
Where I grew up in a working class part of Dublin, a place called Ballymun.
Noel Rock is a huge soccer fan and a former member of Parliament. He sponsored the law banning resale for profit.
I would have seen firsthand how people often saved for weeks in order to go and see their favourite team or to see a concert in the summer. Both the bill itself and the problem it wishes to solve are relatively straightforward. Even though it certainly isn't the biggest domestic political issue on the agenda, I thought this was a way that I could stand up for those people.
So far, it appears there are mixed results. We still found a few street scalpers, known here as touts, selling outside of concerts.
The goal of this law isn't to entirely eradicate ticket touting, though we'd love to do that. The goal of it is to minimize it insofar as possible and give real sports fans and real music fans the best possible chance of accessing these tickets at face value. No law is 100% perfect, generally speaking. Equally, when it comes to the larger international marketplaces, be it Viagogo or Tecombo or various others, StubHub, we no longer see them being active in the Irish market.
That's right. Major resale websites StubHub and its parent company Viagogo have been almost completely shut down in Ireland, reducing mass scalping.
That means listings are restricted. We don't have availability for a lot of the major events.
The company's Frankie Mulqueen says the price cap has driven the remaining resellers underground to Facebook groups, eBay, and Craigslist, where he argues consumers are no longer covered by StubHub's money-back guarantee.
When you put in place a price cap, the level of service is restricted. Those offers go. Our sellers just aren't willing or capable of selling on the platform anymore. So the demand remains, but unfortunately the protections are gone.
It's true, there are still some scalpers, even scammers, selling tickets on less regulated sites. This Irish Member of Parliament says there needs to be more enforcement. To date, national police in Ireland have not laid a single charge under the resale law.
It definitely has been impactful, but there are still cases where tickets are on sale on online marketplaces at inflated prices.
One problem, the current law doesn't reach outside of Ireland or to the scalpers who buy and resell tickets from outside the country.
The Ryder Cup is coming to Ireland next year, and we're already seeing inflated prices. We have cases where it's up to 6 times the original face value that has now been on the market. That's simply not acceptable.
While Ireland has seen a drop in price gouging, the experiment has exposed another hard truth about the artists themselves raising prices for big shows. When superband Oasis came to Dublin last summer, prices on Ticketmaster were still sky high and very hard to get.
I can't get anything. Cannot get anything, please. One ticket. One ticket is all I need. One fucking ticket. Please get back to me. I'll literally pay anything. Literally, it's at the stage. I'll literally pay anything.
In this case, the band itself set the high prices, the equivalent of $800 Canadian for standing room and general admission. Oasis used dynamic and tiered pricing, charging more for spots closer to the stage. There was a buying panic online on Ticketmaster as the show rapidly sold out.
Everybody was put into a queuing funnel, essentially. They were told that there were a certain amount of tickets on sale from a certain beginner starter price. And then as they waited, as the anticipation built, as they worked their way through that waiting list, that funnel online, they got to the point of a ticket being available, only to find that it was 3 times, maybe 4 times, what they thought they were going to be paying when they got to the end of the queue.
Richard Blumenthal is a U.S. Senator from Connecticut. He's just published an investigation called So Casually Cruel. It looks into the world's largest entertainment company, Live Nation, and its subsidiary Ticketmaster.
Well, what we saw very clearly is that the company used dynamic pricing, which is in effect employing algorithms to raise prices when they see demand increasing, even without notifying people that the prices are going to increase.
He uncovered internal Live Nation documents.
These documents really tell a powerful story of, frankly, greed and the focus on profits.
They show how the company encourages its most popular artists to jack up tickets using platinum and dynamic pricing.
I think what's most telling here is the motive and objective: make more money. Consumers be damned.
Dan Wall is Executive Vice President of Live Nation, which owns Ticketmaster.
I want to show you this, which I'm sure you've seen. This is the platinum and dynamic recommendations.
Right.
And this was attached to Senator Blumenthal's report.
Right. I am familiar with this. Well, let me just say, first of all, that it is not just Live Nation that does this. Everyone in the industry does this.
Can you see how optically fans see this platinum and dynamic pricing and see or believe that Live Nation and Ticketmaster are colluding and conspiring to drive up prices for everybody?
I understand it, but that's because everybody focuses on the prices that have gone up and not on the rest of the house.
He reasons that by increasing prices for some of the best tickets, it actually makes shows more accessible.
This differential pricing, platinum pricing, whatever you want to call it, is for the benefit of the artists and the fans because it creates this spread of pricing that allows the higher priced seats to subsidize a lot more lower priced seats.
Live Nation and Ticketmaster's practices are under a microscope in the U.S., where they're being sued, accused of stifling competition. It's an antitrust case, originally brought by the Federal Department of Justice and more than 40 U.S. states, seeking to break them up. But in March, Live Nation met with officials in the White House. They reached a surprise tentative settlement with the federal DOJ to avoid splitting up the company.
The DOJ settlement resulted from a corrupt process. It was the outcome of contacts with lobbyists and others who had a strong self-interest.
The judge will determine whether the settlement was in the public interest. We had to reveal it all. So you do not have any opportunity to do any sweetheart deals in a smoke-filled room or anything like that. It all comes out.
But more than 30 U.S. states are fighting on. They're asking the courts to break up Live Nation and Ticketmaster's monopoly.
The case went to trial this spring. CEO Michael Rapino was called to testify. In April, a federal jury issued its verdict. Live Nation and Ticketmaster are an unlawful, anti-competitive monopoly that's been overcharging fans.
The court has made a finding of liability. They broke the law. Now it has to decide what to do about it, the remedies. There has to be a breakup here. There has to be a division. It isn't enough to impose conduct remedies, like you should do better. You should lower your prices. We're going to trust you. Trust is no longer a solution here.
What will you do and argue in the face of the U.S. states seeking to break up Ticketmaster Live Nation?
That it's both impossible legally and a terrible idea.
Are you a monopoly?
Well, it's funny. What the verdict says is that we have monopolized 20% of the primary ticketing market, not the whole thing. I don't call that a monopoly, and I'm actually confident that over time the courts won't call that a monopoly.
What do the artists have to say about all this? Well, most now use dynamic and platinum pricing. Drake, Harry Styles, Alicia Keys, Coldplay, The Weeknd, Bruce Springsteen. What's clear is that with or without price caps to curb the scalping, fans are still willing to pay high prices for big events. Sports or concerts, arenas and stadiums still routinely sell out. So long as they do, big-named artists or companies like Live Nation or scalpers are more than happy to take fans' money and cash in on our collective love of live entertainment.
The World Cup of Soccer coming to Toronto and Vancouver has seen some sky-high ticket prices. What's behind that?
Well, more dynamic pricing, as we just heard about. You know, FIFA, this is the first time they've used it. They say, look, it's becoming industry standard. Why don't we make the profits as opposed to the scalpers? Now, I will tell you, some of the tickets that went on sale in this dynamic pricing in the initial days, thousands of dollars per ticket, those prices are starting to come down. And the fans who bought them first off, thinking that they had to be in line, well, they're feeling a little disappointed and like they might have paid a little too much money initially.
I'm sure they are. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Coming up, as Health Canada begins opening the market to generic brands of Ozempic-like drugs, what should Canadians know about what's heading their way?
Think of it like cooking the same dish in different ways.
Christine Barak looks at the chemistry, the cost, and why Canada isn't the usual country of origin. That's next. Generic versions of Ozempic and similar drugs have arrived in Canada, and more are very likely on the way. They're made overseas, they cost less, and they promise similar results. The brand name versions have had a dramatic impact around the world. Christine Burak looks at how the generics measure up on safety, symptoms, cost, and point of origin.
For the first time, a generic version of Ozempic will be available in Canada as patent protections expire. And people are asking, is it safe? How much will it cost? Where is it being made? And is it really the same? Here's what we know. The generic works the same way. Health Canada only approves the generic if it's pharmaceutically equivalent to the brand. Both use the exact same active ingredient, semaglutide, in a once-weekly injection. But they're made differently. Think of it like cooking the same dish in different ways. Ozempic is made using a more complex recipe, starting with yeast that uses both biotech and chemistry, while generics use a simpler, all-chemistry process.
What happens with the generics, all they do is they take these amino acids and they actually physically build up like a Lego set. So it's the same molecule eventually, but it's just made differently.
They end up with the same drug. Both work in the body the same way, which means the side effects are not different. You're looking at the same GLP-1 side effect profile, so nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation. They usually settle with time. And while these drugs are generally considered safe and effective, they all carry the same risk of serious, albeit rare, side effects. If anything feels different, it's not likely the medication, but likely the pen design or device, the click, the injection force, the way the dose dial turns. This part surprises people. The first generics approved for Canada are being manufactured in India in large, internationally inspected, GMP-certified facilities. At least one of the companies approved already supplies medication in Canada, the US, and Europe.
It's a global market, and this is the way that the drug supply chain works. So India has massive capacity for producing products, and it's not a surprise that that's where we're going to get the generic product from. So the answer is the vast majority of generics, or a lot of them, have some component coming from India.
So while the drug is approved here, production is happening there. We don't have exact pricing yet, but we do know how it works in Canada. If Ozempic pens cost roughly $300 to $400 a month, generic pens will eventually be much cheaper. The first generic usually lands around 75% to 85% of the brand price. One more generic entering the market can drop the prices to a half or even a third of the original cost.
So doing some quick math, depending on the lower strength you're on, that can mean that for some patients, the cost of the drug before dispensing fees and markup could be around $100 a month.
Companies say they're basically ready to launch. People paying out of pocket will probably be able to access it first, while insurers work out coverage and pricing. Meanwhile, Health Canada is still reviewing other versions of generic Ozempic. If more get approved, that could drive prices down even further.
So, Christine, I hear now that we're hearing about a future price for the brand name Ozempic. What's that about?
That's right. The company is introducing a savings program that it says will launch later this week. So this only applies to people who have a prescription, go to the pharmacy, and pay fully out of pocket for brand name Ozempic. Novo Nordisk says those people will be eligible for a savings card. They can go online, get this savings card, and they can use it in the pharmacy to lower the price. We asked how much will it be lower by. They wouldn't say, but they said it'll align with the generics, which can be $200 off per month. So that would add up really quickly.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Coming up, a Manitoba woman's porch becomes home for a family of foxes.
You never really get to see that up close and personal.
The adventures of her new neighbors, next in our moment. You're looking at 4 fox cubs at play. The group just part of a litter that's now calling a backyard in Mitchell, Manitoba, home. And that backyard belongs to Ashley Cherrier, who's taking advantage of her front row view of the wild animals. And now her new neighbors, well, they make our moment.
I have foxes that decided to have a family under my deck. It started out with just one, and then another one came out, and then later that day there was 4. Our last official count is 7. They are adorable. They stay hidden a lot during the day, but like early morning, late at night, they run, they play, they jump, they pounce on each other. They, I guess, practice their hunting skills. We definitely could tell a few of them apart. Like one of them has darker feet than the rest. It's really cool to watch them. You never really get to see that up close and personal. It's neat to watch like the fox's parent. They're actually very like doting, nurturing parent. They just are intrigued by my cats as well. And like my cats want to go play with them, but don't realize that they'd become a snack. I never want them to leave, but we also understand like they're wild animals. I have no intention of taming them. I mean, we're surrounded by park, farmland, normal places that you'll see foxes and stuff like that. So I don't think it would be an issue. I can't really control where the foxes decide to have a family. I mean, they're in town.
Cute, but you know, those baby foxes are called kits often, and a group of adult foxes is a skulk, not a pack like wolves. I was curious after watching that. Remember, don't let your small pets out in that backyard. Anyway, charming story. And from all of us here at The National, thank you for being with us. I'm Susan Ormiston. You take care.